Devolver Digital, one of our favorite publishers in the world, just announced a stylish new game, Children of the Sun. This is developed by, from what I can tell, a solo developer named Renee Rother, I believe it's pronounced. And this game has been compared to games like Sniper Elite, but it's really something all its own. You know, their announcement called it a surreal tactical puzzle shooter, but there's a playable game on Steam right now that you can get about 45 minutes of gameplay out of, and that's what we're rolling during this video. So just taking a look at the gameplay footage, as you can tell, the game almost reminds me of, in its approach to you know, the story or the narrative or the setup, something like Hotline Miami, which just throws you in this kind of confusing, stylized, dark, violent situation, and you're this sniper character, and your goal is you have one shot per level, and you have to kind of move your character around to set up, you know, kind of give yourself an idea of where all the enemies are and kind of plan your shot, because the game works. If you guys remember this movie Wanted, the characters in that movie could bend their bullets and stuff like that. This game almost works like that, but you only get that one shot per level. So you kind of need to take a quick second to see all the, you know, the environmental hazards, to find all the enemies. You can mark them, collect that intel. Cool thing, nice quality of life feature is you only have to do that once, and you can add on to it in between attempts. You don't need to do that every single attempt. If you fail, the enemies that you marked on the map stay between attempts. And then once you hit your target, you get to redirect the bullet, you know, towards your next target. So if you miss your target and you just, you know, you hit a wall, or you just send your bullet flying into the woods, you gotta shoot again. You gotta line up your shot again. And as the game evolves, you get interesting new tools, and all, of course, the setups, the level design, and the enemies themselves begin to evolve as well to provide new challenges and so on. And you know, when I first played the first couple levels, I was like, this is interesting, I like it. How far can they really push this concept? And this, just based on a demo alone, it's obvious that they can push it and take it in a lot of new directions. And pretty soon I was addicted to these levels, which can be quite challenging, figuring out, you know, if you've got 8 enemies on screen, how do you actually bounce a bullet or kind of plan your shot to go from an enemy that's down low to another enemy up high? You've got to figure out which enemies you need to send that bullet at first, which one it goes to next, and which one it goes to next. Because if you send it to the wrong enemy, you're not going to be able to, you know, well, then reroute the bullet to the next enemy. It sounds crazy, it sounds confusing, you know, but that's where the puzzle element comes in, is that type of planning your snipes, planning out your shots. And again, it is in this very simultaneously like lighthearted and dark world. It's got that cool, I don't want to say PlayStation 1 style, because it's not quite that, but it is a very stylized game, as you can tell. And there are some basic, you know, there's something going on with like a cult or something here in the story, which is always something that intrigues me. Some type of violent cult that's out of control. You seem to be getting revenge. That's what your character is doing, taking out these cultists. I believe that's at least what's going on. Again, kind of Hotline Miami vibes here as far as the story goes, just providing a little bit of a backdrop and a setup and some flair. So as the demo goes on, you actually get the ability to reroute your bullets and not just shoot them in a straight line. To some extent, you can't totally like wrap them in a circle. You can change it a little bit, and some of the levels demand that you do that. And then there's certain things like enemies appear with different weak spots in their body, and if you hit those weak spots, you get the chance to totally reroute your bullet while it's on its path altogether, 360 degrees. There's a lot of challenges that pop up, and you're gaining new abilities along the way. You know, I do wonder if you're going to have things eventually like bullets that can collateral. It also went through my head, you know, I don't know how long this game's going to be, what other features it may have, but I got thinking while I was sitting here and playing it and really enjoying it. I do recommend everybody try the demo with something like an editor or a map creator. In this game, I think could be really, really fun. I think allowing players to set up their own, you know, set up enemies in their own maps and challenge themselves, and then challenge the community could be really fun. It's probably a lot of work, so I understand what I'm asking for, but just kind of challenging yourself to set up these interesting puzzles, because once you start to solve them, and figure out, okay, I can't shoot the bullet through this window from this direction, because if I do, then I can't hit the next enemy over here. I have to change my position, shoot it through this window instead, and get this guy first, and then this guy. It just all clicks, and it feels really good and satisfying to solve these puzzles. Like, I'm not a big puzzle game guy in general, but in a setting like this with a sniper rifle in my hand, that's the type of puzzles that I want to solve. And I'm really glad that Children of the Sun exists, because again, Devolver is one of my favorite publishers. I'm really looking forward to Angerfoot. Hotline Miami is one of my favorite games of all time. Children of the Sun is definitely a game that I plan to buy when it launches. We don't know when it's coming out, but of course there's this playable demo on Steam. I believe it is planned to launch in 2024. If you're interested in this developer's previous work, he has a page on itch.io, and he has a lot of different games, demos, projects on there, so check that out. He was a new name to me, but again, Devolver just picks really great partners and games. Pretty much everything Devolver touches is worth checking out in the long run. So Children of the Sun is no different. Like the video if you enjoyed it. I'm going to roll some unadulterated gameplay footage for you guys, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want coverage of more games like this, and go check out my other channel, Midnight Mare, where we cover Dead Drop and Midnight Society exclusively. Thanks for watching. Mayor Reynolds out.